Good evening, sir.
All right. Welcome, class. A very good evening, all of you.
Good
So
evening,
finally, we meet again, huh? All right. Today we won't be going into C++, but yeah, we'll try to sum up, a few concepts of UI design and what I can say about the controlling of those UI elements using C#. Okay. So I hope everybody has joined who was supposed to. 29 people are here. So should I start, Shalk sir?
Yes, sir. You can start.
All right.
Continue.
Okay. So what? First of all, let's start with the full form. I hope everybody knows what this acronym means, right? What do you mean by UI? Or
User
GUI?
interface.
Right, that's for GUI. Okay, so let me share my screen real quick. So in the beginning, right, many moons ago, Unity was looking for a perfect element or a perfect UI for their engine, right? And there were a lot of discussions what to be included, what should not be, right? And how atlases work, what can we make different from those atlases, and we'll walk through all of these things. Okay, so let's see what we have. All right, I hope my screen's visible. Is it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is visible.
Perfect. Let me just sum my video because my bandwidth is not good. Anyways, okay. So yeah, like I said, many moons ago, Unity was looking for a perfect UI to integrate in their engine and to work upon, so that not only the code oriented users can utilize their UI, but the persons with a little knowledge of the coding can also utilize the same UI at the same time. But it took a lot of time. By the time they reached their the perfect UI that we see today, they came up with a term. Actually, it was not a term they came up with. It's the term that community gave it to them, I would say. So that UI that they were particularly designing in that moment was called DNFGUI. All right. So to get the obvious first question out of the way, let's see what DNF stands for. Okay, in that GUI, we know GUI means graphical user interface, but what does that DNF stands for? So I'll give you a hint. Okay, I gave you a hint already that it's not any particular name that Unity designed for themselves or Unity came up with. It was the name given to them by the community, all right, by us. Okay, and yet yet it became so popular that it was included at the very first moment when they came up with the next their to the state of the art UI that we see. So anybody of you who would like to give it a try what the DNF stands for? Just it's not a technical term, I would say. Try it out. What does DNF stands for?
So, like, enough means normal form, but I don't know what is.
Okay, no issues. I know it's not going to be easy for you to guess because I'll tell you why. All right. So the community offered a few explanations on their own when it comes to be, to the term DNFGUI, right? And the first one I would say was did not finish GUI, okay, because it's been a uh, it's been long time since they came up with that UI. They said it in the middle of 2012, I guess, and by the time 2019 or 2017, they were not able to finish this UI that they said to the people that they are coming up with. Okay, that's applicable, that's applicable to both coders and non-coders at the same time. So the first definition society came up with was did not finish GUI. All right. The second was the new fossil GUI. All right. So these are the terms that the community gave, right? And the third one was that new freaking GUI. And my reaction to that was, what? I was serious, right? I mean, this cannot be like that. That if somebody has given a name, even if it's not technical, then but at the same time it should mean something, right? We cannot come up with a name anything at all. I mean, some random names or some random acronyms. All right. So what DNF actually mean was Duke Nuke Forever GUI. So have you heard of this game Duke Nukem Forever? Any of you?
No, sir.
All right.
Duke Nukem, I've heard not forever, but
Yeah, Duke Nukem you heard, right?
Yeah,
Duke Nukem Forever is, okay, somebody's in the chat saying something. All right, yes, sir. 2D platform, right? Yeah. So Duke Nukem was the game, and Duke Nukem Forever was, a forever in development sequel of that fantastic game, but it never comes out. Okay, so that's what people started thinking about the GUI that Unity offered. That this is the Duke Nukem Forever GUI of the UI world. I would say that it's never gonna come. Although that's the same thing with Duke Nukem Forever. That Duke Nukem was the very good. It was a fantastic game, to be honest. But afterwards, they said that they are going to release Duke Nukem Forever. But it's still it's still in progress. It's still going on. Okay, but it never came out, right? So it was the community that started joking about that the long promised UI system. Okay, so and Unity just went with it. Okay, they accepted that joke on themselves and they just went with it. Okay. Okay, what happened to my slides? All right, the movie. Okay, the first, the first UI that was there in the Unity GUI systems was the immediate mode GUI, or it was called IMGUI or on GUI. All right, and it was more developer centric UI system where you have to write codes in order to see something on the screen, to draw geometry or what I can say, to do anything which is event driven. You had to write every piece of every chunk of code for that. So it was entirely developer centric UI system. Okay, and that's why it was not that appealing to the users, because the users who were not from that background seemed very difficult. It seems very difficult for them to use this GUI system. All right, then came the retained mode GUI. All right, and this is the UI system that was first unveiled to the world in the last years Unite. And the word retained implies that the UI state is retained from one frame to the next. Okay, that's what it means, that the whatever you can see on the screen is going to be retained throughout the frames of that game or whatever application that you are working on Unity. All right, and this UI system was way more artist friendly, and it was very easy to create user interfaces without writing codes thanks to this. And originally this was the system that was supposed to ship in Unity 4, but they delayed it somehow. It came up with the Unity 5 versions, and it wasn't quite impressive, or how the Unity developers or how the developers at Unity wanted it to be. All right, The first problem, obviously, rigid in nature. Okay, a button always, change surprise when based on its state. Okay, and it couldn't do much. It couldn't do anything else apart from that. And it was a very, simple color oriented. You cannot have much sprites onto it, uh, colors and stuff. All right, and moreover, uh, if you want to, if you wanted to have two elements and you want to highlight when you hover over it, so that was not that system, or that what I can say, application was not given in this retain mode GUI. So it was very rigid in nature, that whatever is provided, you have to stick with it. You cannot change much of it. The second problem was the GUI transform. Okay, what does that mean is that whenever you add some transform component, okay, onto your screen, so aside from the anchoring gizmo, okay, you can anchor those. We'll see what the anchor and stuff means. So you can change the anchor but not the pivot. If you want to change the pivot, you cannot change the anchor. So that was the transform drawback, that you cannot have control over both of the things at the same time. Okay, and it proved to be a pretty big no when you want to design moderately complex UI systems. The third, of course, is the screen size support. Okay, so handling of different resolution was very big problem with the retain mode GUI and the way it was written, it would always try to be pixel perfect, so that if you take an example of a 200 by 300 pixel widget, so it would take the same amount of pixel even if the screen size is changed. So it was giving a problem while for a multiple platform support. Okay, so that whatever, let's say you designed a button which was 200 by 300 in width and length, so it will try to retain that. It will try to retain that pixel width and length parameter, even though the screen size or the application screens changes. Okay, so which was a problem when you want to your game to easily support both lower and higher resolution platforms. Okay, so then you have to redo all the UIs for both the low end and high end systems. Okay, then was the inability to swap between HD and higher and lower resolution atlases, and it was starting to become clear that the solution simply wasn't going to scale well going forward, because already we have taken out 4 of the drawbacks that retain mode GUI had. So, and yeah, another nail in the coffin was the difficulty in creating the UI from code. Okay, and in the process of making it easier to use for artists, okay, the UI system seemingly completely abandoned the ability to create dynamic user interfaces from entirely artist based now, not the code based. The first one was entirely developer based. So this was again a drawback because they wanted a system that's easily feasible, or that's easily applicable to both the programming and programming background person and the non-programming background person at the same time. Okay, so the final straw was that what I can say, the comparison of what RGMI, RGM UI could do with what a certain user-made UI add-on could do. So it was not picture perfect as they wanted it to for the UI system, or the Unity UI system that they were promising people that they would come out with. And of course, there's another version of it that is that's a user-made UI. Okay, that's NGUI, and it was easier to work with NGUI, and it offered more flexibility and power when it comes to the designing and creating UI systems. So they said RIP to the retained merge UI as soon as it launched. Okay, and then they came up with the resolution of Unity GUI that we happen to see today itself. Okay, so this NGUI that I was talking about earlier, that user made NGUI, was actually, it's called Next Gen UI Kit. All right, and the number one reason many people find NGUI difficult to get into was because of its depth issues. So NGUI panels, it batches all the widgets inside them into a single draw call, and it provided it provided the use of same atlases, which is fine and dandy until you get more than one atlas on the same workspace. Okay, so what happens is that in that case the things get hairy, because your input system is not able to differentiate between which atlas you are trying to catch, because then there are going to be two event handlers acting at the same time, and now they're going to get confused that which button you actually clicked on. So the depth issue was there with the NGUI. And the other, I would say, if you use the same atlas to adjust depth, then if you use more than one atlas, you can and the Z transform of those atlases, so that I mean, based upon the code at the backend, that if your Z value or Z value is something like this, so they are obviously talking about some other atlas. If the Z value is something like other, however, so following this simple rules is just not good enough, right? Because then everybody has to keep track of what atlas is at what Z depth, right? So they had to keep a track of many things, which again confuses the user, because creating UI is because as they promised would be and they are getting confused in the atlases or the canvases that we call it nowadays UIs. So it was very distracting, and it was not good to work around it. So another difficulty with NGUI was, of course, the atlases suck. So the number one issue with the UI or any UI is that if they are using atlases, okay, because it's a lot easier to work with individual source images and then have them get magically added to the atlas under the hood, all right? But but the new system, the next gen UI, would simply not do that. So every image you add, it added another atlas with it. So it makes things, what I can say, complicated, over complicated, I would say, not just complicated, because we do, right? So I mean, so it was not able to work with nested widgets. Again, that issue was there when we have it was very difficult clipping, the square clipping, all right? Because in NGI clip actually done by specifying a rectangle on the panel, then replace all the shaders of the widgets that are underneath, and it's gonna just it's just gonna hide those widgets that are under that shader. So the clipping was again a problem. So there were many other issues with the next gen UI, which then allowed the rise of event systems, which we see nowadays in our Unity scripts or Unity UI. Whenever we design a new canvas or a new panel, or not a panel, a canvas, any UI element or button or anything like that, so event system is automatically generated along with it, and that event system is very, what I can say, is very easy to implement. It gives a very extensible support to whatever function you want to perform, all right? So I'm not sure if you have worked with the NGUI, but those who have used the NGUI are likely familiar with the improved event system that sends the useful notifications such as on click, on press, on drag, and so on. So it already have you can also see here this on click event is given, right? So it gives a lot of what I can say. You can see this on click event here. So it gives a lot of flexibility for the users to differentiate different operations from each other. Okay, whether you're clicking, pressing, dragging, whatever you're trying to do with your button or whatever element is there. So there's a event system taking care of all those things. Okay. Rather than attaching a component to the camera and always raycasting into collider that we usually did when we work with the NGUI, okay, and see like and we try to override those raycast functions to implement our own logics. Okay, for example, to raycast our own system into UI hierarchy and others. So this event system take care of it all. So it does that automatically, and we just need to take care of those what you can say, predefined functions that are available in that event system, rather than raycasting all those things again and again. Then one of the nice things about this system was that it handles more both, I mean not both, but all mouse, touch, and controller input, intuitively, like unlike in NGUI where you have to choose in the beginning like what type of navigation you want to use. All right. So it allows allows the flexibility to to work around with mouse, touch, and controller at the same time. All right. While in the other US systems you had to define first before creating any UI. You need to define first that what type of input I'm expecting from my user, all right, to navigate through my UI. So it allows you to navigate your menus using the mouse. You can then switch to 360 controller, all right, and you can just use touches if you have some touchscreen panel, right, and it will just work fine. So there was a lot of features that event system allowed or event system provided that really means a lot to the developers. So another cool feature was event bubbling. All right, so if the game object doesn't handle a specific event, it automatically goes to its parent, and then the parent's parent, and so on. So if something did not work out, so it just go to its parent and try to see if some other definition for this event is defined there or not. If not, then it goes to that parent's parent, and it just go on going through the hierarchy until the topmost level to see if there is some definition for that event that occurred on that panel or on that UI is defined. And if it is defined, it's gonna perform accordingly. If not, then it's gonna throw an error or something. Okay, whatever you define for. So if you have button inside a scroll view, you can have click event handlers on those buttons, and then a drag event handler on the scroll view itself. So there's a lot of flexibility that is provided, or a lot of functionality that is provided along with this event system that you can apply in your UIs. The other thing was multiple event triggers. So of course this mode function from the same event, it applies just by choosing them in the inspector. All right, and it allows you to trigger multiple events on the same thing. So like here, if you look here, so there's this plus sign, right? So on click is an event, and on this event you can perform multiple actions, not just do one. You can add multiple actions that can perform at the same time. So it can allow you multiple event triggers at the same time on the same UI, what do you say, element. Okay, so the new Unity GUI was now more sprite based, right? Not Atlas based. It was more sprite based. Okay, that means that that your UI sprite, reference sprite, that is your texture, right, and not the name of the sprite inside pre-generator atlas. So you don't need to you don't need to create an atlas defining the shaders, the texture, the sprite, whatever you are going to apply on that element, whatever you want in your system or whatever you want in your UI. Now you can have a direct reference to that sprite or that direct reference to that texture, and you can change that whenever you need to, right? So otherwise, the materialistic or the material effects now that you can provide to your UI element, all right? So it give so not referencing to any specific atlas, it gives you a complete freedom to specify a custom material for your widgets if you so desire. And in this example, they have chosen to add detailed textures to many of the widgets. Like you can see that this is the texture that, I mean, this is the you can say the widget they have created to showcase or to see the combination of different RGB values. All right, so they can just change this RGB value from here, and they can directly see the changes onto that rabbit that is there, rather than creating different atlases for different materials, then adding those different atlases onto your widget and to switch between them. It's a very tedious and lonesome task, right? So rather than doing that, you can just create a clean looking widget which can do all that in a single event. All right, so you can even scroll the detailed texture or these UVs separately in order to create animations and other stuff that you can always wanted to do in the UIs. So it allows you to run your imagination wild. Okay, so whatever you want to perform, you need to implement that. You can always go through the documentation, and you will always certainly will find a function or a method that can implement that functionality in the Unity GUI. The other thing was automatic atlasing and batching. So all atlasing and batching is done automatically, and you don't need to worry about that at all. All right, you don't need to write atlases to the batching and providing it to your widgets. So it just work. So what does this mean to you or the user? Is this that now you have you don't need to worry about the Z or depth issues anymore. Okay, all the Z and depth sorting issues have been completely eliminated in this Unity GUI, the latest GUI that we are implementing. So okay, so you want to sandwich your label in between your two sprites, no problem at all. Just drag and drop it wherever you want to, and it's not going to create any depth issues at all. Okay, so there are a lot of other functionality that you can think of in your imagination that you want to perform. And then comes the width and height. All right, it does not need any more scaling automatically, so you can set the pivot and size. All right, you can set the position as well, so you don't need to worry whether my that system or whether my element is now going to scale according to the screen or not, because it automatically does that. Okay, whatever element you put onto your screens automatically scale with the width and height of the desired of the deployed platform that you are working on. Okay, so what does that mean is that that it uses separate values to specify the width and height of the widget rather than relying on the transform scale. Okay, so you can it does not rely on the transform scale to do the width and height set. It provides you the ability to set its width and height what I can say, in addition to setting its transform scale. Okay. And since the nested widget's position is automatically relative to the parent's pivot point, you can quite easily create a button with a label inside it, and you can just put it. You can just put the pivot in the center, and it will stay center even if you resize the button by dragging its corner and doing other stuff. So it allows you to provide the pivot points in position at the same time, so that what I can say, so that it scales automatically with the screen size or the size of the button. So you don't need to you don't need to rescale the text, then the button itself, the button text and stuff. It automatically does that for you. So the next thing was the dynamic fonts. Okay, so the label have completely been redesigned, and nowadays the Unity's dynamic font system no longer have to worry about making sure that your font supports all the Eastern language glyphs, or as a side effect of the redesign, the label support rich text formatting. Okay, so all those things are taken care of in this present state of the art Unity GUI. Okay, what does that mean is that now it allows you to it allows you the ability to add in any kind of font into your GUI. All right, you just need to download a TTF file, you just import that into asset, and then you can use that TTF files to redesign or to change your fonts of any GUI element, whatever you are dealing with. Then comes the stencil based clipping. Okay, so the way clipping was handled has also been completely redesigned in this GUI, and the addition of stencil buffer supports. The new GUI allows you to create not just rectangles but completely arbitrary shapes. Whether you want to create a polygon, whether you want to create a circle, whether you want to create a trapezium, whatever you want to create, you can create that using this stencil based clipping concept or mechanism that is provided in this new GUI system. And there are a lot of other cool features that we can talk about the whole day, but that's not why we are here, right? So I guess I have I've wrapped up the most important aspects that were supposed to be covered. Okay, so but if you're curious, we can always talk about it later on. I'm always available for you guys, right? So we can try hands-on later, right, and see what other things we can perform with this new Unity GUI system. Okay, so I hope now you have a clear insight of what we are dealing with. Okay, why GUI is important, and how the new GUI has improved upon time and now has become the most, what I can say, the widespread or the most widely used UI system around the globe. Okay, because it's very easy, it's extensible, the support is there, the community is large, it's very flexible. Both the coders and non-coder background users can have a full use of its functionalities and stuff, right? And it has a it provides a great advantage over other US systems, being sprite based, providing you the materialistic effects, automatic atlasing and batching, eliminating all those depth issues so that the events can be triggered what you can say, at the correct moment and at the correct place. The scaling issues has also been resolved, and the automatic scaling takes place. You can always change the pivot and the scale or position of that element to, to in accordance to your screen, and it can, automatically resize accordingly. And yeah, it provides dynamic fonts, and using that stencil based clipping, you can create any arbitrary shape that you want in your UI to be. Okay, so next question that comes out to be is that the type of UIs a game requires. Okay, so let me just stop sharing. I'll just go to Unity. Okay, so I've already created a game for you guys so that we can have a look through. Like, obviously we're not going to design the games, but we are going to design the UI for this game. Okay, so I have created the game so far, and what I'm gonna do is not what I'm not gonna do. That's what you are gonna do, is to help me out to create the UI for that. Okay, so let me share that screen pretty quick. Okay, I guess the screen is visible. Is it?
Yes, sir.
All right, so if this is a game, let's say, okay, and what I'm gonna do is just gonna have a look through, like, what, it's a very basic game, right? Die. So
Yes,
this is the game. Okay, based upon this, based upon what you just saw. So what do you think would be the types of UI that are needed in that game, or a game requires in general?
A score tracker.
Number of lives,
Number of what? Number of
lives,
lives. Okay.
and the number of coins collected.
All right, good. All right, I'm talking about the general UI. Okay, those are the elements that you're talking about. I'm talking about the UI. So what could be the possible UIs that game can have?
A good background.
All right. So in the beginning, what you saw, the rabbit was there in the air until I press some button, right? And the game starts, right? That was it, right? And I start collecting the coin and stuff. So before starting the game, should there be a UI or not?
Yes, sir. Main menu.
With the name of your game and stuff, and a button that say the press here in order to play and stuff, right? So there's a thing called pre-game UI. Okay, so that's the UI that appears for the user in the very beginning of any game, right? But that tells the user like what the game is about, how to start it, if you want to see the credits and stuff, yada yada, right? Something like that. So that's called a pre-game UI. Then when I pressed hit, or when I hit play, so what should be there?
Game.
There should be in-game UI, right? Like you said, somebody was saying the coins collected, right? Or the lives and stuff, right? So that all has to be shown when the user is playing the game, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Perfect. So that's called in-game UI. So whatever is going to happen, or whatever you want your user to see during the gameplay, you can show onto that UI. And what if that user dies? It's called post-game UI, post-game UI view. Okay.
Yes, sir.
How, what can be shown there?
Restart or quit and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we can show, you scored this, you collected this many coins, or you're left with these many lives, or whether you want to play again or you want to go to the main menu, right? Things like that, right? Okay, so we'll discuss all that. So in the pre-game UI, what things do you think should be there? The very basic ones. I'm talking about the pre-game UI. I hope the difference is clear between the pre-game, in-game, and post-game UI. First of all, let me know, is it clear?
Start button.
Okay, start button would be there, perfect.
Maybe the name of the
Settings
game.
button. Options, credits.
Okay, the options, if you want to, change, or if you want to
Quit.
the volume to be down, change the color of the rabbit and stuff, right? Whatever functionality you want to perform, right? So that can be there. Very good.
Inventory.
Inventory items, but inventory would come, during the game, because we haven't collected anything yet. We're just going to start, right? Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Can
sir.
we show the inventory before the game starts? Or we can show, first of all, the very important thing would be the title of the game, right? Whatever we want to show, whatever title we have given to our game. So that it gives, it lets it lets us to define our work, right? Then they can be a play button, perfect, right? The other thing is, a button, or directly you can show something that tells, or some instructions to the user, like in order to play, press the play button, or press S. In order to jump, press this. Whatever, however your mechanic works in that game, you can give an instruction kind of thing there in the beginning, so that user game start होने के बाद ना confuse हो कि मेरे को खेलना कैसे है. You should know in the beginning itself, like how I need to proceed with this game. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
And there
Yes,
can be a credit button, so that if the user wants to see the credits, or who are the developers, or who all people who are working on this game, so they can develop that. So this is my ideation of like what the most basic pre-game UI could be. Your game title followed by some instruction that you want to, the exit button if you do not want to play the game anymore, you can exit the application, or the play button to start, and the credit button, so that he or she, whoever is trying to play the game, can know like what or who are the people who were behind the scene developing this game, right? Okay,
Yes, sir.
so if we talk about the in-game UI, so what needs to be shown to the user in that in-game UI? Think about it.
Score.
Score, perfect, very good. Score is okay. Score. What else could be there?
Health.
Take the hint of that game that we just. Somebody said lives, right? How many lives are left? This is optional if the
Controller.
controller kind, in the sense.
We use finger on the phone touch.
Okay, so if your game supports multiple controller and you want to switch between controllers, so let's say it's a controller. Okay, I'll just consider that, but it should be in the pre-game, right? According to me.
Oh, sir, if it's in mobile, we need joysticks or move buttons, right?
Yeah, those buttons.
Try to see that.
Sorry. Okay, so something like we have already seen the PUBG game, right? A joystick.
That's what I was trying to say, sir.
Yeah, that's what you're
or,
trying to say.
or arrows, like to move here, to move here, to move here, to jump, to crouch, right? Okay, very good. So like in this game, we were collecting coins, so we can have a coin count, right? We can show the coin counter. How many coins?
In-game settings button.
Yeah, the settings button can also be applied. So let me just put it like here. So this is the setting button. Okay. What else?
Pause button.
Pause, right? So you can always have a pause button kind of here, slash play button, right? So you're getting my point, right? That's the very the funda. So very good. So you guys are intelligent enough. Good. So this is what can be there in the in-game UI. So in our case, in our game, what we can show is the score, the data that is uh, the coins that we have collected, how many coins we have collected, and the maximum score. Like what was the previous maximum score before that in this game that we just currently played, right? Okay.
Okay,
So
sir.
so what if we talk about post game UI? What things you need to show after the game and after the game ends?
Current score. Current score.
Yes, very good. Final score.
High,
Final
highest score.
high score. I don't think that's required at the very end, but yeah, again, it's just a matter of
Restart
thinking,
button.
right? No issues, no issues. Nothing, no one is wrong or right here because everybody has its own way of thinking. Okay, so whatever you think is gonna be correct as long as you are able to implement that. Okay, so this is high
Restart.
score. Yeah,
Restart
so you can
button.
have two buttons, to main menu, and whether you want to play again, right?
Yes, sir.
Perfect, good. So this is what we are going to design now. The game over text that the game has ended, you died, the score, the data, that is how many coins you were able to collect, the play again button, and the main menu button. Okay. So this is what we are going to code now to see how we can do that in Unity. So are we up for this? Shall we?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I hope this everything is clear, whatever we have discussed so far. All right, so let's just go back to Unity pretty quick. Our rabbit seems to die over and over again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is start the game. Okay, so where should I put this? Okay, let me just do that. Participants, I cannot see him in the waiting room, so ask him to retry. I cannot see him on the waiting room. Ask him to retry, and I'll just let him talk to bottom. All right, so this is my game actually. These are the level generator and stuff, whatever is required, I have developed there. So now what I'm going to do is, to create a UI. So there are two ways to do that. First of all, you can just right click, go to UI, and you can create your, canvas. Okay.
Yes.
But we're going to do something different from there. Okay, we can go from game object, and from here also we can create canvases. Okay, let's see, we want to do something different. So I'm just going to create empty objects. Let's rename it to called UI. So this is where all my UIs are going to be stored. All right, this is where I'll create, or I'll store all my UIs. So what UIs do we talked about? We talked about, let's create an empty. So we talked about, we can say main menu, right? Call it main menu canvas. Okay, so here all the things that we want to show into a main menu would appear. Okay, so what we're going to do is create, we're going to add a component called canvas here. So basically this is the canvas that we that appears, and that is going to take care of all those things, all those elements that needs to be there in our UI. But since it's render mode is world space, we're going to change it to overlay. And you see it's so big because now it's creating for the it's creating in terms of the world space, so that it's resizable, or it's applicable to both high-end and low-end device at the same time. Okay, the sort order would be 0, everything else is good. So next thing we're gonna add is canvas scaler. Okay, and we're gonna scale, or we're gonna check this. We're gonna set this US scale mode to scale with screen size. For the high definition, let's put it 960 by 600. So this is HD resolution, right? Or else if you don't want to do that, so just keep it 800 by 600 by default, which comes by default. So anything would do. Let's, for the sake of this activity, let's change it to 960 by 600. And another thing that we need to add is, here you can see that now no event handler is there, right? There needs to be event handler in order to handle all those events that are going to take place in the canvas. So if you design a UI from here, if you design a canvas like this, it's automatically going to add the event system. But since we are doing something different, so we're going to need to add the event system from here. So I'm going to add it, drag it to the bottom. All right. Okay, so yeah. What else is needed is graphic raycaster. So this is, what I was talking about, that in the previous UIs we needed to, raycast our we need to create our own raycasters and raycast all those raycast on the screen and see where those event is triggered. But now if you add this graphic raycasters, it's automatically it automatically raycasts onto the screen and see what type and where the event is getting triggered. Okay, so you no need to create your own raycast now. Okay, so this is pretty much it. Okay, so what now we're gonna do is okay, so let's see what we needed to add. Let's go back to the slides. This is pre-game UI. We need to have the game title followed by some instructions, then the exit, play, and credits button, right? So what we are going to do is, okay. So I have already prepared two prefabs, okay, the game logo and play button that we're going to implement. Otherwise, what you can do is you can always go here, do the right click, go to UI. You can add whatever you want. So if you want to add, text, so use, I suggest to use TextMesh Pro because it's a high definition text and it allows more control over your text variations than the normal text element. Okay, and if you want to use image, you can use that as the background. Whatever you need to, all these elements are there for you. So whatever you want to design, you can just use them from here. So I have designed two things. This is nothing but this is, if I double click here, so you can see this is nothing but a prefab that has two titles. All right, so I have two different titles so that we can give to our game. So I'm just going to drag it here in the menu canvas. Let's call it game logo. What we're going to do is go here, or from here you can just put just drop down, go to title, and from the text just change it. So let's call it Juju Rebbe, the title our game. All right, and from here we can give our subtitle whatever we want to. Let's say let's go carrot. Okay, so you can have a more control over it, whatever you want to. So you can change the color of your fonts. You can change the font from here. You just click here. So all the available fonts for the time being, there are just three fonts available in my scene because it's just a new version of Unity that I installed. So you can always go Google whatever font you want, or you can always look for different fonts and just download their TTF file. Okay, and just drag and drop them in your asset folder, and you can access those from here. Okay, or you can directly, if you have if you know where you have stored all those text, so you can just drag and drop into that this text or this font tab here. Okay, So yeah, so let's just change the color to something orangey. So it matches with the carrot. Okay, let's go to title 2. Let's go to darker or lighter. So this is your game view, right? So here you can just see like how it is going to be shown onto the screen. Okay, so if I just save it and start here, click here and start. So you see it's shown on the screen as it is. So now what we need is to add 2 buttons or some instruction that we'll do later. We'll add the 2 buttons for exit and play. So just go to preference UI. I'm gonna drag this play button to my main canvas. I'm gonna change it to, all right, it's already a play button, so let's just call it play button. And you just need to scroll down and see this is what it looks like. Okay, and if you want to, what happened to it? Okay, so if you want to change the text, you just click on this arrow, put text and name it whatever you want. You can change the font size, let's call it 20. You can change the font style to bold or italic, bold and italic, or whatever you want to. So there are a lot of options that you can play around and see how it performs. Okay, all right, so this is it. Okay, now if you want to, if you look at this play button element, so you can see, right, there's a lot of things that you can work or play around with. So there's a thing called source image. So you can always change the source image to whatever you want to. Let's call it jumping bunny, and you can see it's gonna take that place, right? Time being, let's stick with that blue normal. All right. Okay, so yeah, and you can always adjust the color. So if you want it to be red, not blue, so just change the color to something red. Go to font and change the font, color not to black but to somewhere white, so it's visible. Okay, and then again you can align the text according to this parent. Now the text is going to be aligned in accordance to the parent. Okay, it's not going to be aligned in order to this canvas. Okay, so that's the functionality that we just talked about, right? So you can always use the transform of the parent in order to adjust all the values that are there in the element. Okay, so I guess this would do. Let's change the color to something different. Let's call it be Arial. All right, so since you have a play button, now what you're going to need is to provide the functionality, right? For this to start or to play the game. Okay, so okay, my voice now is it better or what? Hello.
It's fine, sir.
Okay, let me just put my laptop in charge real quick. Okay. All right. So yeah, like I was saying, you have a button, but it does not have any functionality. So you just, if you just play the game and you click here. So you see it's clicking, but nothing's happening at all, right? So what you're going to do is to provide it the functionality so that it can actually start the game. My voice is still that low or what? People are facing issues.
It's fine.
Now it's fine.
Okay, so yeah, what I was saying, you need to provide the functionality. For that, we have designed, we have not designed actually, we have this script that's taking care of, I tend to write scripts in such a manner. So we have a game manager script that take care of, the basic functionality of the game and where all the, things actually happen. So in this, you can see here we have a method called start game that is, creating the instances and creating the blocks, okay, and changing the game state to in game. So it's performing some things that I wanted to, and it's actually starting the game. So what you want to do is you want to give your button this functionality of starting the game, right? So you just go to your play button, okay? You just come here and you want that functionality to be available on click, right? And you can see that the list here is empty. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna click on add. This will add the functionality of whatever you want to perform on click. You just drag your game manager here or whichever object you have applied your script to. Okay, from here you can go to game manager class, and from here you can select which function you want to invoke. And we want to start the game, so we'll use game manager.start. Save. Let's try to run it again. If I now hit play, you see now I can play around. So if I can play, it's going to start from the very beginning now. Okay, so let's stop it for the time being, and what I want to do now is okay. So yeah, what I want to do now is to hide this panel whenever we are in game. Okay, so how will we do that is, again, we're gonna so what we're going to do is again use the scripting for that. So we'll just go to our game script, game manager script. I'm not sure if you are able to see the Visual Studio. I hope not. Okay, I'm just going to change it.
No, sir.
Here. Okay, now I hope it's visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what you're going to do is create the functionality of, you can say, to hide that, that canvas. So we need a reference to it, right? So in our class, what we're going to do is create a public reference to
Game object.
canvas, right? We need to deal with canvas, right? So we need canvas, we call it main menu canvas. All right, we just shoot here, and what we want to do is to in the beginning, when the
Game starts.
game starts, we just want to turn it on. Okay, so we'll say main menu. What is this? Main menu canvas dot enabled equal to true. Okay, so we want it to be shown in the start of the game. All right, and whenever we are in game, okay, so this is a method which tells us whether we are in game or not. So whenever we are in game, okay, so here, whenever the game state changes to in game, what we want to do is to turn it off. Okay, so we'll simply say main menu dot canvas dot enable is equal to false. Okay, we just try to go here, try to run again, and you can see what's it now, something. Okay, so this my bad. What happens is that we can see the error down here, right? On the
So
side
we don't
graphics
see the
section.
Unity screen here.
So we'll just go to our game manager script. So here you can see that main menu canvas that we just created, right? We haven't given it any, I can say, reference. So we're just gonna drag our main menu canvas here so that we have a reference to this canvas that we want to.
So we don't see your Unity screen.
Oh, my bad. How can we share multiple screen at the same time in Zoom? And
You have to like stop screening and share the screen, so complete screen.
It's not showing here. Maybe in advance I can get. It's not allowing me to share the whole screen. I can share multiple.
Yes, sir. You
screens.
can share a complete screen, sir. Click on share screen
Now
and
it's visible.
yes, sir.
All right. Now I guess this Visual Studio is also going to be visible.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So what we want to do is, if you go to your game manager, right? If you go to game manager, there's going to be this main menu canvas, that public object, public reference that we just created, right? We just need to drag our canvas that we want to manipulate here. Okay, we just save our screen again. I hit play again. And now you'll be able to see that panel has gone, right? So whenever I stop and restart, so the panel is going to be there unless I hit play, and as soon as I hit play, it's gonna be gone. It's gonna be set to false. So what's happening is that you see this the stick here. So this is that true or false that we are trying to manipulate. So if we uncheck this, you can see it's disabled, right? You cannot see it any longer on the screen. So if we enable it, it's back on the screen. So we are just enabling and disabling this checkbox from the script in order to manipulate when and where to show this main menu canvas. Okay, so let's just let's just duplicate this play button. So on T, we just call it exit button. Okay, let's just drag it a little to the left. So now here, the play button, drag it to the right, and just change the text on this to exit. Okay, let's put it in capitals. All right. So this is the button that is, is going to exit the game, or that is going to terminate the game. So for that, again, we need a reference. Okay. So again, what we're going to do is we go back to our game, this game manager, come to the very end. We're going to say public exit. We just call application dot quit, right? What is this exit GUI, etc. Not this exit. Okay. Public void exit. Okay. So this is the functionality that is going to quit our application whenever we hit or whenever this function is called. Okay. So when we want to call this function is in this exit button, here we'll go to this, because we just delete it. So if अगर हमने उसको duplicate नहीं किया होता, we have created our own new button. So this is what it's going to be looking like, right? ऐसा कुछ दिखेगा. We're just going to hit on the add to list. Again, drag your game manager, because that game manager, consists that functionality of existing, right? You go to function, go to game manager, and you're going to call in your exit. Okay, save. That's it. So that functionality you might not able to see here in this Unity itself, because it's not going to exit, Unity now. So, but when you are going to build, when you're going to take the build and you click enter, that window or console that's open, it's going to shut down. Okay. All right. So this is about it. And now next thing is that credit, right? Credits. Okay. I'm just going to go to text, change it to credits. Credits. Change this, transform to somewhere here, very corner, put it somewhere down. All right. But now what's happening is that we cannot, have that credits to show credit at any instance. So what we need is to create another, canvas that can contain that credit thing. Okay, so how we're going to do that is, okay, so what we're going to do is duplicate this menu canvas, Control T. We're going to call it credits canvas. All right, and we're just gonna delete all these elements, all the buttons except for one. Okay, because we need to go back to main menu, right? We're just gonna call it back to menu. Take this to back. Okay. Okay, so in the game logo, what we're gonna show is, you know, the credit. So we're gonna say developers. All right, and you see all these things are showing at the same time because we have, you know, we are showing all the, yeah, you know, canvases at the same time. So if you are going to edit this, so you just uncheck this so that only this credit canvas is shown and you can see the changes that you are making. So okay, so to the title one, we can write, to the title two, we can write dev one. We just duplicate this, push it down a little bit, call it dev two, and whatever developers we have, right? So we just push it down. Okay, let's change the color to somewhere white and the font to something called, say, P50. Okay, push it down a little bit. All right, so this is what we are that we need to show, right? When we want to, you know, or whenever we have that we can say, whenever we hit that credit, somebody else is waiting again. All right, I cannot see anyone waiting there. Just ask them to, you know, retry because it gives me a notification. I couldn't find any notification, so just ask Adil and one more guy who left to re-ask, I mean, to rejoin, and if I get a notification, I'll just add them in. All right, so what I was saying, yeah, we want to show the main menu when we hit back, and whenever we hit this credits button on that main menu, we need to show this developers UI, right? For that, again, what we need to do is to create a reference for this credit canvas. We just go back to our script. We'll just come here. We'll say, again, we'll create a public reference of tab canvas, and we're going to say credits canvas. Okay. And what we want to do is let's create a function called let's call it public void to main menu. Okay, and what we're going to do in here is you know, to just change that what you can say, whenever we're going to just call that function whenever that credit button is triggered or any event happen on that credit button. And but in that case, what you want to do is, you know, we want to enable that canvas, which is main menu canvas, and or not main menu, which is the credit canvas. We want to disable this main menu canvas. Or so what we're going to say is, or we can do one more thing. We have this game state.resume, right? So in here we can use that functionality. Okay, later on we'll come to this later on. So in this, what we can do is again, just need to, you know, main menu canvas dot enable to false, and we want to, you know, okay, this is not to main menus. This would be called then credits canvas, because we want to move to credit canvas. So here facing error. Okay, matches with that name of the variable. All right, so we're going to say credit canvas dot enable to true, right? So this is what you want the functionality to do. All right, so we just go here, we come to our main menu canvas. We'll just go to game player first. So here we have to give the reference of the credit canvas. So we'll just drag and drop it here. Go to credits. And from here, we need to go to game manager and we just need to call credit canvas, right? Okay, so it's going to call in our credit canvas, and then the credit canvas to the back to menu, we need to offer something functionality with this button so that it goes back to main menu. So for that, we'll just create another public method called back to menu and just call it here, and we'll just reverse it. We'll just set true to our main and just kind of false to our canvas, that credit canvas. Okay, so we just come here, we just enable it first. So, but the thing is that in the beginning, when the game starts, both of these are active, right? So for that, we just need to go back to our start, where the game starts, right? And here we just need to set that
Equals false.
credit canvas as false, right? Okay, so let's just go back here, click run. In the beginning, this will show. If we go to credits, it's going to show our developers. Click back. It's not going back because we haven't assigned that functionality yet. So we can click here, go to game manager, and set back to menu. One more thing that you can do is, right click here, add a UI image so it covers. So if you want it to cover the entire screen, just go here in the anchor pivot point. From here, just hold to, hold to Alt, and you can click here so that it covers the entire screen. Yeah, the very bottom. And to the image, you can either add a source image if you want to, whatever you want to. Let's say if you want, let's see if we can add something here. I don't have much. It's not gonna look cool. Okay, we can add it. No, it's not gonna look cool. All right, we can add a color, right? We can add a solid color. This would be it. But yellow won't show that white text. That'd be something like this. Let's save it. Okay, it should look much better. Credits. Oh yeah, the order is changed. You need to order it at the very beginning so that the things are visible. And credits, developer, this, go back, play, die. That's it. All right. Now what else is left? We have our main menu, we have our credits. The other canvas that we need is that, in-game canvas, right? So let's just create a duplicate of main menu canvas. Let's call it in-game canvas, right? And just enable it so that it's visible. And in the in-game canvas, what you need, we don't need game logo. We don't need play buttons. We don't need like this button. We don't need credits button. But what we do need is some texts that we can work around with, right? So we just click here, right click, go to UI, we need to add a text. So go to Textbooks Pro. Okay, just go here, press shift, and just click here so that that pivot point goes to that part. Press Alt, click here so that your text also goes there. Or you can, you can click Shift and Alt at the same time. So both those things just go in that direction. Okay, so next, let's just rename it to score text, and what we need now is to change its text to something called score, right? And it's at the very corner. So what we're going to need is to push it a little down and to the right. Okay, just say 20 by minus 25. Okay, looks good. Okay, so next thing is just duplicate this, call it score points. It's gonna score points, and in the beginning, let's initialize with zeros and push it a little down. Okay, let's call it at minus 60, let's say. It's look neat. All right, so they just select both of these, press Control D so that it duplicates, and we're just gonna push it to the right. All right, and here what we need to show is our max score. That's what we agreed on, right? And max points. Okay, and in the center, what we want to show is the coin count, right? So just go right click, UI, coin the image, and again just press Shift Alt and this to pivot it to the very top, and just drag it a little down, drag it a little left, and in the image we're just gonna call it coin, and we need the sprite to be a coin. So just click here, look for that coin that we need. Spirit coin 1. I know you see this thing is stretched, a little stretched. So to maintain or to preserve its aspect ratio, you just click on this little checkbox here called preserve aspect. So now it looks much cleaner. It's not stretched anymore. So just push it, say minus 90 to the left, and minus 40, not 40 is too much. 5 is also too much. Let's say 30 to the down. 20 is again too much. All right, a little bit 20. Now it looks much cleaner, right? And what do we need now is one more text value which we want to manipulate so that it can it can show our coin count, right? So call it Express Pro and don't do anything, just click here, press Shift Alt and pivot and position it to the top. Okay, let's go to this TMP, call it coin count, and just change to 000. Now you can just position it according to these texts. So its position is minus 60, 20. So from here, this position is to minus 60, just to a little right. All right, looks much cleaner. Okay, good. All right, all things are set. All we need to do is to provide the references, right, for these, for this canvas, as well as for these, updatable text values. So for that, what we're going to need. So what we're going to need is, just right click here and try to create a script called, let's call it in-game view. Okay, let's double click it so that it opens a new video scroll studio. All right, so here we don't need these two references. We need since we are going to work around with the UIs and the text, and the text is text mesh pro kind of text. So what we're going to do is we need to refer to library of TM Pro, right? So we can manipulate the text, otherwise it's not feasible to do that. And we want, you know, to be able to call these references, or to be able to call this, the function, the methods, and the variable of this, you know, particular class into other classes. So for that, we need to create an instance. So what I usually do is to create the shared instance for all of these. So I'll say private, so that, you know, the value remains constant, or value remains the same throughout the whole game. Okay, if I do not create a shared instance and I share the instance to some other, you know, script, and it changes the value, so it's going to be changed in that particular script only, but not, you know, to this the main script that we are referring to. So in order to do that, what we need to do is to create a shared instance so that the values remain same throughout the whole game. So we're going to say private static, let's call it this. It's going to be a shared instance for in-game view, so I'm going to call it shared instance. Okay, I usually do that for all of this. So if you look here for this, you know, for this game manager, I've also done that shared instance thing, because it's quite easier that way to, you know, simplify things and to assess the script variables and methods in to remain same throughout the whole game, or throughout the whole structure of the scripts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say awake, not start. In the awake, I'm going to, you know, I'm going to set the shared instance to this, so that now whatever object this is attached to, it's going to take the instance of that. And now I'm going to create a getter in order to, assess this you know, private instance. So for that, I'll say public, because I want to assess this method from outside of the scripts. I'm going to say public, and I'm going to say static, because now I'm going to refer this static shared instance variable. So I'm going to set it to get instance. So this is the getter I'm preparing. Okay, and in here I'm going to return this shared instance. That's it. Okay, is it saying? Okay, public, and it's going to return a value of type in-game view. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, so what I need to do next is to refer to all those you know, the variables that I need to take care of. So I'm just going to call them by public. In order to, you know, if they were normal text, I would say text, and I can use, you know, I can assess them, but since they are text mesh pro text, so I'm going to say tmp underscore, not asset, tmp underscore text, and this is, let's say, coin. I'm going to say coin label, so that we can assess that coin. I'm going to say publics tmp text, and this is for score label. Okay, so I'm going to say public tmp text, and I'm going to call it highest score label, or in our case we have set it to max score label, so that things don't get complicated. We know which one we are trying to assess at what moment of time. So just go back to our Unity. We go to our main canvas. Just drag our in view to our main canvas, or this in-game canvas, and now I just need to refer to those variables, right? The score points go to score label, the coin count goes to coin label, and the max point goes to max score level, right? So since I have the reference of all of this, so now I just need to update these values, right? So yeah, there are various ways in which we can do that. All right, and the first one I would say, in order to to see to see the score, right? Noting to the score, what I'm going to do is to see how much our bunny has traveled, and at the same time I want to see how much of the coins he has collected, right? So for that I have already created a method called, it's not going to be here, it's going to be in the player controller. Call that script in. All right, so here you can see I have a method called where is it? Yeah, get distance. So what it's doing is it's trying to trying to see from a player's location. It's taking this position as the reference, and it's trying to see how much we have traveled from this distance, okay, and how much we have traveled, and it's just so what it's doing is it's having a variable distance, and it's taking the initial position, and the distance function is calculating the position dot transform, or transform dot position, that is how much we have traveled from that position, okay, and it's converting into a vector, and since our distance needs to be an integer that we can print onto the screen, we just typecast it into an int. All right, and at the same time this in our game manager we have this collect coins function. What it's doing is how it's just adding in the values into a variable called collected coins. So whatever values that are coming out to be, okay, it's just what I can say, it's just adding those values. जितने भी हम coin collect करते हैं, it's just adding those values into here, okay, and this is get collection coin is the method which is then returning that collected coins value. Okay, so what we are going to do is we need both references. So we just call in our game manager using the game instance, and we are just trying to catch that collected coin value. Okay, since that collected coin is going to be of type public, I guess. Collected coins, yeah, this is public, so therefore it is available to to be accessible outside. Otherwise we were supposed to call in this function get collected coins to get that value. Okay, so yeah, so what it's doing is just adding, it's just adding the distance whatever is traveled with the collected coins value, so that the total distance is equal to the distance covered plus the coins collected. Okay, and it's returning the distance. Right, we just need this thing to be stored in our in-game views score label, right? So we're just going to go to our update, and we just need to update only when the player is in-game mode. So for that we have created we have designed a functionality. So we're going to say if I'm just going to refer to our game manager, and I'm going to say get instance, so that it can get the values to be same throughout the game. And I'm going to say current state. So if it is equal to game state dot in game, so this is the functionality, this is the enum. If you look at my game manager, so this is the enum that I created. All right, it has 4 game states: menu, in game, game over, and resume. All right, so if it's equal to in game, okay, so if my player is playing the game, or if it's inside the game, okay, then only I want to update that score label dot text, right? So I'm going to say score label dot text. So what's happening is that it's referring to this part. Okay, score label dot text. So this text input part it's referring to, and I want to update that to player controller dot get instance, and I'm just gonna call in this method get distance, that is calculating the distance that it has traveled and adding that coins that it has collected along with it. This is our total score, right? So I'm just gonna refer it there. So I'm gonna say get instance dot get distance. Get distance. Okay, but you see, if I put a semicolon here, it's going to give an error. So it's going to say we cannot implicitly convert type into string. What I'm going to do, it's an obvious solution that you must know by now. What is it? How we can do? How we can convert this into a text value? Because whatever value it is returning, that get distance, it is in type integer, right? If you look closely here. So it is returning a type of integer, right? We are typecasting this values into integer values. समझ आ रही है कि अभी थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट हो रहा है, बताओ. A yes or no would do. Is it returning an integer type or not? Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Am I even audible? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you see this public, this is again we have जब हमने initialize किया तभी बताया कि इसका type return type integer होगा, and we have typecasted both values into integer and we have returned that variable, right? The var means nothing, it's going to be typecast into int only. So this var takes care of कि किस type की ये मेरा variable किस type की value store करवा रहा है, ये अपने आप को उस type में convert कर लेता है. Okay, so we are returning distance, so we are returning an integer value, right? But here we are trying to assess the text field, and text field will only contain strings, right? And this line of code is returning an integer value, which is also shown by this error. Cannot implicitly convert type into string. So what we're going to do, every object, every game object in C# has a function called dot to string. We're just going to call it. What is going to happen is that whatever integer value it has returned, it's going to be typecast into strings. Now you see the error is gone, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so yeah, let's see if itna kaam karta hai ki nahi. Let's try to, start. Okay, one more thing we need to do is, in the beginning of the game, if I'm a game manager, so we'll just have a reference to this canvas called in-game canvas. Okay, and what we're going to do is in the start, we just put it in game canvas to false, right? Because at the very beginning we don't need it to be shown. So as soon as we are into the game, we are in game. So what I want to do is I want to set that canvas, that in-game canvas dot enable to true. I want it to be shown, right? जैसे ही मैं गेम के अंदर जाऊंगा, I want it to be shown. What is it? True. Yeah. Clear है? And just copy these two lines, and in the main menu I want to do what? I want to show just the main menu canvas, and I want to false it. Okay, so if we come back here, I turn these two back on, save it, try to run it. If I hit play, okay, again the same error that we did in the beginning. We did not keep the a reference of in-game canvas to our game manager. If I hit run, if I hit play, you see the score is increasing. So whatever values or whatever coins I'm collecting is showing there at the same time. Okay, it's visible, right? So it's working correct
Yes, sir.
in the way we want it to. Okay, let's try to die. All right. So it's working fine. Okay, so next things that we need to include is to deal with this coin count and score level, right? Just turn them back off. All right, doesn't matter, by the way, because now we know we have already, in our in-game we already have the reference to these. So in order to update the coin, let's just call in a public method. So public void, let's call it update coin. And what we want to do is to update the values of that, coin label dot text, right? And what value we want to store is the values that are going to be there. Where is it? In this collected coins, right? And in order to access the collected coin, we have this get collected coins function. So what we're going to do is, and this function is in what? Game manager, right? So we are going to refer to our game manager. We're going to say, give me your shared instance. So get instance. And I'm going to say, give me this method. Get collected coins, right? So this method was taking care of that thing. But one more thing I need to add is what? You tell me.
Not to string.
Yeah, because again, you see this value is going to be of type integer and we are referring to the text type. So we need it to implicitly convert to string. So I'm going to say to string. Okay, that's it. Okay, so it's going to update the values of the coin. But it's not going to do that. Why? Because we haven't still called it yet, right? We have not referred to this update coins anywhere in the update method. Then only it's going to, update the values at the same time. For that, there are two ways. We can either, update it here in, our, what I can say, update of this in-game view, or else what we can do is we can go to our game manager and we can, have access there. So why we need to do that is, we need to have more of the functionality in the game manager, as much functionalities as possible in the game manager, so that it's easy to, to search around and see what things we have created and hum kaise, what I can say, update कर रहे हैं. And we want it to be updated only when, अगर मैं इसी में अपडेट में कर दूंगा तो एवरी फ्रेम पे ये फंक्शन को कॉल करेगा, एवरी फ्रेम पे ये इसको कॉल करेगा, and it's going to waste our resources, right? We don't want it to be called every frame. We just want it to be called whenever we are collecting any coin. Getting my point? जब भी मैं coin collect कर रहा हूँ, then only I need to, update the value, right? So I go to my game manager, and here whenever I'm collecting a coin, this collected coin function is taking care of collecting the coin, all right? And I'm just increasing the value. So as I increase the value, at the same moment, what I will do, I will try to, update the value in that in-game view as well. So I'm just going to call in-game view. Okay, script. I'm gonna get it, get its shared instance, and I'm gonna say that give me your function, which is taking care of, the coins value. So this is update coin function that is taking care of it. Okay, so I'm just gonna call it here. So if I go back, save it, press play, I hit play. See, whatever coins I'm collecting, it's setting up there. All right, I know this is not the best GUI I've ever made. So because we started from scratch and we did not have much to work around it, but the main idea for you is to, give an overview of what a UI should look like, how many type of UIs are there in a game, and how you can manipulate different, things or different instances that are there in your UIs, different elements that are there in your UIs. So buttons are pretty basics. Okay, for that you can just create a a public method, and you can you can add a on click event, and you can just call that method there in order to do something, right? But manipulating these things are part of our code. Okay. So one more thing is left is the okay, so we haven't changed that yet. Max points, max score, we haven't changed to max score. Let's change it max score. Now it's getting out of the picture, so we can just gonna push it onto inwards. Okay, so it should look something, should look good. Okay. So now whenever we talk about higher scores or any values which any, what I can say, any player or any user needs to define forever. Let's say we ask our user, right, whether you want the music on or off. Okay, so whether you want certain things to happen or whether you want your graphics to be higher, lower, whether you want to show the frame rates onto the screen and stuff like that, right? So whenever we have things like that, okay, which a user can have a control over, or which he has to set in the beginning, and we have to retain that value throughout. Okay, so we go to our player prefabs. Okay, player prefs means, if I be that we can say precise, those things are called player prefs or user prefs, but in Unity it's called player prefs. Actually, if we think in a logical manner, it's the user preferences. Whoever the user is going to set those preferences, right? But in technical terms in Unity we call them player preferences. Okay, and how do we use that is, let's see. So we want to show the show the highest we want to store the highest scored values in our high score label. So let's go back to our controller, because this player controller script is going to take care of the, what I can say, the player the values that a player wants. Okay, so remove this so that we can discuss what this is. All right, and okay, let's go put move here so that we can discuss. All right, so first of all, in order to have a call in that player preferences variable, we need to have a string that is going to be there forever, or that is going to refer to that player pref. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say private, and I'm going to set a constant string. Okay, I'm just going to call it, for the timing, let's call it high score key. So this is the key with which we will with which we will have access to that player pref that we need to store the highest value, right? So I'm just going to call it let's say, for the timing, let's call it highest score. Okay, and now whenever our player is killed, right, then only we'll see how much what I can say, score he was able to perform before getting killed, right? So we'll just go to our kill player function, which is which is taking care of killing our bunny for the time being. So in here, what we want to do is call in our pref, right? We'll just create our pref. Okay, so for that we'll just say int and it's gonna be high score that we just said, okay, that we had as our key. So this is the key which is telling the compiler that this is wherever you match this value, it's going to be a player pref. Okay, so we're going to say that player pref is of type int. Okay, int high score, and we're going to say it's equal to, and it is a player pref. All right, so this player pref is there, and we're going to say player pref dot, it's of type int, so we're going to say get int. I'm going to pass in our key. So we have this key as high score key, and we're going to pass it here. All right, and the next thing we need to do is to get the distance. So we have already got the distance here. That is our current score. We are storing that distance in our current score. Okay, and we need to pass, or we need to update the value of this pref only if the current score is greater than the high score. So we're going to check whether our current score is greater than high score. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to call in our player pref, and we're going to set the value now. अगर current score high score से ज़्यादा है तो हमें update करना अपना preference with that value, right? We're going to set that integer, right? And to do that, we need to call in that key, high score key, and we're going to say that updated with the value of current score, right? So this is what we're trying to do. We check whether our current score is greater than the highest score that we had earlier. If it's so, then we're going to say player pref set int. Now set the int to the whatever value we have in this current score for the time being, right? Clear? Let's just save it. Okay, and try to go back here. Try to see if it works out the way we want it to. Just run. Just play. In the beginning, it's 0. Let's try to die. Oh, I need. All right, so we will only be able to see that max score once we are, in game around and around. So for that, we need a way to go back or restart the game, right? For that, what we need to do is to create, let's create a duplicate of this canvas, name and canvas, and we're gonna say it game over canvas, right? And let's just uncheck this. The game over canvas we do not need. We do need the logo, but we need just one title. Okay, it's gonna. We don't need that. We just wrap it up from here. Just say game over. Okay. Space here, and yeah, rename it to game over. And in the instead of play button, we're gonna say back, or we're gonna say main menu. All right. And for the text, we're gonna say main menu. And yeah, just going to go back to our exit button. We're gonna say play again. The text, change it to play again, right? So the function would be pretty easy in this way. Okay, so whenever we are calling the play again, when we are clicking the play again button, so what we want to do is we just need to go to game manager, and we need to restart the game. So we can say start game, right? In the main menu, what we're going to do is we're just going to call in our game manager. We're going to say back to menu, okay? And in the game manager again, we need to have a reference to this canvas. So we'll just go here. We'll say public canvas game over canvas. And we're gonna just set it to false in the beginning. Game over canvas dot enabled equal to false. All right, and whenever we hit game over, whenever we have this game over, so we just in the menu again we'll just say game over canvas dot enabled equal to false. In game also we're gonna say game over canvas dot enabled to false. We just need to set it true and the other false whenever the game is over, right? So we just come here. This is false, this is false, and this should be true. Okay, let's come back here. Let's see if it works out. So I forgot to turn on these three menus. Okay, so we just play. What happened? Oh yeah, same mistake that we did. Just give the reference of this canvas to our game manager script. Let's retry. Play should work. Let's try to die. Boom. Okay, so if I click on play again, it should start from the beginning. Okay, for die, she's going to be menu. Let's play. Okay, so max score is still not being updated for some reason. Let's see why that is. So this is our max point. Okay, and come to my canvas. I will give it to max points. Max score label to max point. Yeah. Okay. Oh, the reason being that in here in the in-game menu, I haven't said that I haven't called in this. I haven't set any value to this label, max score label, right? So for that, I'm just going to create a public method so that it can be called in the game manager. So I'm just going to call it show highest score. I'm going to say max score label dot text is equal to where we are storing that is in play controller, right? We just did that in play controller, right? We created a play pref and we set the value, right? So we're just going to call the play controller. We're going to say give me your instance, and from that instance I will try to call in that get score, and what thing is left is to convert it to string. Okay, so this is going to give me the max score. Okay, and yeah, in the game manager I need to call this function at the suitable place where I want to say to update the value. So I want to update the value after that. So I just want to show the value in the very beginning, to be honest, because that's where the value should get initialized. I don't want to initialize it again and again. So I just want to initialize it one time, right? So I just go to my start game. I'm going to say in-game view. I'm going to say give me your instance. So I'll just get it using the get instance, and I'm going to say show the highest score. Okay, and if I try to run it from here, this might issue work this time around. Stop it at the same time. So yeah, if I hit play. All right, the max score is 345 already because we played right the last time around. Let's try to break that and see if it updates. Come on, break it fast. Imagine if I die at 340. We have to do it all over again. Wait, don't die. Oh no. Do we break that? I don't know.
सर आपने प्रेडिक्ट किया था भाई वो.
Oh my god. All right, so that's my bad. Let's just speed it up. Where is it? My game player. Player. Here's my player. I'm gonna speed up this one, speed 2, let's say 15. But it's gonna be too fast for me, but let's give it a try anyways. Let's play. No, it's good. Don't die. Oh, he is never going to die then. Yeah, thank God. Okay, so let's decrease it back to 5, back to normal. Okay, let's try to play again. All right, the score is updated, right?
Yes.
It's 448 now. So it's working out fine, like the way we want it to. We'll just give it back to normal now. All right, so this is the use of player prefs, right? Wherever you want values which you want to, you want to set in the beginning and you want it to be like that, or you want them to be updated only if the user want them to. Okay, so you use player prefs. All right, so it can be strings, it can be any boolean, it can be an integer, it can be any double, float, whatever you want to. So just try to keep it these concepts in mind. Okay, somebody's saying something. All right, give me a moment. All right, yeah. So like I was saying, so these are the some concepts that are pretty handy when it comes to you creating your UIs and you want to work around with them. So try to have a game manager. This is the first takeaway from this workshop that I want you to have. Try to have a game manager. This ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि इसको अलग से कुछ बनाना पड़ता है. So you just create a new script, just call it game manager, G capital M capital. All right, and that script will be called, it automatically will be set as the game manager like this. The icon will automatically change because Unity will assume that this is the script from where all the things, all the functionality is going to take place, and all other things are to be called in this game manager script itself. Okay, so just create a game manager script and have all your logics sit into that. Have different scripts, work around with them, create their shared instances so that they can share their value, the same value throughout the whole, I can say, project. Okay, and then try to get whatever function you want to get from that particular script using that instance. Do not directly call it, use that instance to call those functions. All right, so that the value that you need should not should not happen out to be something different that is expected, right? Then again, try to have UIs, the pre-game, post-game, and in-game UIs. Okay, and try. I'm not gonna say this is the best example or this is the best UI that you can create. So to be honest, this might not be the best, or this might be the worst you have ever seen. But the main point was to give you an idea of like what and how you can manipulate those UIs instead of using this UI and creating the canvas from here, and every canvas will have its own event system, and then it's going to get confusing and stuff. So you can just create a game to game object. You can add your own canvas or whatever component that you want on that canvas. Then you can manipulate that canvas in a way you want to. You can have different text fields which can update. You can have different buttons which can manipulate, and you can have different actions on there. You can have different on click events sitting on there, and you can perform different activities using that. So this was the main idea behind this workshop, to give you an overview of what whatever we have walked through. So I hope this you had some key takeaways from here, and whenever you need any help and whatever whatever what we can say, in whatever manner I may be able to impart my knowledge to you, I'm just a call away. Just call me in. Okay, we can have a formal chat, informal chat, whatever kind of discussion you want to have. So with that, still there was a lot that I wanted to discuss, but during this, to the time constraints, I'm bound to obey. So this is all that I can give away in this much of time. So I hope you had fun learning, and you had some valuable takeaways from here, and you will be implementing all those things, all of those takeaways in your projects or whatever your game that you are going to develop over the time. And hope I will be able to help you out with that. So this is me signing off. So if you have something, if you have any doubts or whatever you want to ask, this is the time. Go for it. Otherwise, we can end this session. Thank you all for joining in and giving away your valuable time. I know times are tough, but we are still trying our best to give it, to give it all. So thank you for taking away your time, right?
Thank you very much, sir.
So if you have something to ask, you can ask now. This would be the time. So if not, then we can always discuss any other time, right? I hope you learned something of value and you're going to implement that.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right then. Okay, so thank you for having me. We can sign off now. Thank you.